Welcome, tennis fans, to the 12th episode of Tennis Traverse, Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, IVJ, and in today's episode, I will be doing a WTA season-ending recap as well as predicting for the ATP Finals coming up on November 12th. And before I start, I just want to say that I'm recording this on a Wednesday because I have some stuff to do for when I'm actually going to record it normally, like a Sunday. So this is before, a lot of things that might happen, if that makes any sense. There might be some things that are really important that I didn't cover, and I'm sorry for that, but yeah. And before I actually start, please follow me on all of my social medias, that is Twitter and Instagram, using @TennisTraverse. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And rate my podcast on the platform you're using to listen to it right now. And yeah, I guess we'll just go right into today's episode. I'll first start off with talking about the WTA Finals taking place at Cocoon. I believe happened on last Sunday. So what happened was Iga Swiatek played against Jessica Pegula in the finals, and she basically, with her win, she regained her number one spot with a year-end number one spot by beating Jessica Pegula with a score of 6-1, 6-0. So she literally breadsticked and bageled Jessica Pegula. So she was really on fire, and there's been a lot of talk surrounding the tournament about how the weather conditions weren't the best, but on the day of the final, the weather was actually perfect. There wasn't that much wind and stuff, but I think it's just how Iga, because a lot of people actually praise Jessica Pegula for dealing really well of all the external circumstances, and Iga, I think, somehow outperformed her when the weather isn't as bad as it normally would be. And with this win, she basically regained her number one spot. And I think this final, really, you guys don't have to watch it at all. It really wasn't that good and wasn't competitive. But Iga Swiatek also beat Aryna Sabalenka in the semifinals, and that was a super important match because if Iga lost that match, she wouldn't end up with being year-end number one. However, she managed to beat Aryna Sabalenka and thus taking her number one spot. So I think overall this tournament really wasn't the best, considering of all kind of the last minute menu change and how it's announced really late. But in the end, the only good thing we got from it is Iga being the world number one again, which I'm super proud of her, and I think she deserved it a lot. And now we'll do a recap of the 2023 tennis season for the WTA side, because the WTA Finals is basically the last tournament this whole year, so let's just go right into the recap. So I'll start off by saying who won the all four Grand Slams, and surprisingly it's all different this year, which I'm really happy about. And similar to this, I'll do a men's final recap, but that will be later because the ATP final is happening on the 12th, so it's gonna be maybe next episode. So for Australian Open, Aryna Sabalenka won. For Roland Garros, Iga Swiatek won. And I believe this is her 3 straight wins in a row for Iga, so it's a huge improvement. Or not an improvement, sorry, but an accomplishment for her. And I'm just really happy for her. And I think this year, well, obviously it wasn't as good compared to last year because she had a 30-something winning streak last year. It was actually crazy, last season. And this season, obviously, she didn't get that much winning streak compared to last year, but she did really good. She still ended off defending her points and being number one year-end, even though she kind of lost that position for a few weeks. And she managed to win 1 Grand Slam title, which I'm just super proud of her. And then Marketa Vondrousova won Wimbledon, and for this I am genuinely surprised because she's been bothered by a lot of injuries, and to be honest, I really didn't expect her to go this far. I just remember last time seeing her name was, I believe, in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, where she beat Naomi Osaka, which is my idol. And I was like, wait, she actually plays good tennis, but then I didn't hear much from her. But now I think she's low-key stepping up and doing really well. And then for US Open, obviously, it's Coco Gauff. And she really deserves this Grand Slam despite being only at the age of 19. And I'm just really happy that her first Grand Slam is at US Open because, of course, she's from the United States. And it's just really happy to see someone actually from America winning the trophy, you know? So, yeah. And then now I'll move on to the 5 best WTA matches that happened. And note, like a huge disclaimer, it's just my opinion, and to be completely honest with you, I did not watch all of the matches leading up, so I can't really say that like there's not like other good matches because of course I don't watch like every single one of them. So I'll just mention a few that I think are really good. So the first one is US Open Final, which is Coco Gauff versus Arina Sabalenka, and I think this one is just a classic. Like at first, Coco Gauff was losing, and then she somehow, I was like, because Coco Gauff lost the first set with a score of 2-6, and I was like, okay, this match is done with. Arina Sabalenka's gonna win. And then she managed to come back because Arena was being really aggressive, like how she usually plays tennis. And then Coco in the first set wasn't couldn't get to many of the balls, and Arena was just hitting winners after winners. And Coco in the second set somehow like just run so much faster, like she could get to every single ball. And I was like, wait a second, this might be a great match. And one thing that like stunned me about this match was obviously I had my parents and some family friends over, and my dad, like he literally never rarely watches tennis, right? And then when that match showed like on our TV, he's like, wait a second, this is actually a fun match. And he watched till the end, like without like dozing off or something, because he's like never a sport person, but he was like actually super invested. I was like, man, this must be a good match. So I'll leave the link to the match down below for you guys. And the next thing I want to talk about is the Australian Open Final. So I believe this is not the second best. These aren't ranked in order. It's just something that I came up with. The Australian Open Final happened between Elena Rybakina and Arina Sabalenka. And personally, I like this match also because it was a comeback for Arina Sabalenka, who I think is super deserving of a Grand Slam title just because she worked so hard for it. And like genuinely, she's such a nice person. And yeah, I just love her. And she really deserved that Grand Slam win. I think like everyone in the tennis community is like waiting for people like for players like her to get a Grand Slam win. Like for example, another player we could say is like her is Ons Jabbar, who's like they have the ability, the skill to win 7 matches in a row and win and be like the best of like a Grand Slam. But it's just not like sometimes a lot of factors play into it and it's just not their tournament. However, this is the tournament for Arina Sabalenka and she managed to beat Elena Rybakina. And don't get me wrong, I love Elena Rybakina. I think she's super pretty on a side note, but like she won Wimbledon, I believe last year or last year, I don't remember, but she played super well. And at first she won the first set, and I believe I was like, okay, she's gonna win because come on, like you already won the first set. So however, Arina Sabalenka, managed to come back, and I was like, I'm super proud of her. So this is also a match I'll leave in my description down below. And then we'll move on to Elena Rybakina, of course, and then who defeated Daria Kasatkina. And just to clarify, this is number 3, the third match. So Elena Rybakina defeated Daria Kasatkina in Montreal's quarterfinal by a score of 5-7, losing in the first set 7-5, second, and the deciding set 7-6 with the tiebreak score of 10-8. And this match took 3 hours and 27 minutes, which is so long considering how women plays best of 3 sets, like generally like everywhere, but like men play best of 5 sets when it's a Grand Slam and a best of 3 sets just like regular tournaments. but it was so long. It's like literally 3 hours long. So it's just super impressive. And the score, like, by the look of the score, it looks intense. Like, you see how it's like 5-7, 7-5, 7-6. Like, it looked like a super close match, and it was. And this year has been good, I believe, for both of them because Daria has been maintaining her ranking pretty well despite like not doing that well last year because I just haven't heard that much from her. But this year I think she's been making some pretty considerable runs, and I believe she won like 1 or 2 titles. So I'm just super happy for her. And I'll leave the link down in the description as well. And now moving on to the fourth match, which is Zheng Qingwen defeating Zhu Ling at the WTA Elite Trophy in Zhuhai for semifinals. The score is 7-5, 4-6, 6-1, and it took 3 hours and 19 minutes. So the thing I want to say mostly about this is like a culture, well, not a culture thing, but an ethnicity thing, because I'm born in China and I've been watching tennis. The first player I watched was Li Na, and there really hasn't been that much good like Chinese players coming out. And I believe this year we saw like a bunch of super incredible Chinese players such as Chen Qingwen, such as Zhu Ling, and just like Wang Xinyu, like a lot of pretty good players. And I'm just genuinely surprised how like they actually can compete in like really high level tournament and actually like go really far. So I'm just really happy for them. And the score also looked pretty close except for the third set. And something I want to point out is just on a side note, it's like for women's tournaments the score can like sometimes like just trip you out because it could be 0-6, 6-0, 6-1. It could just like be completely flipped, or like someone get bageled, or like you get bageled. It's like you can bagel your opponent and your opponent can bagel yourself in the same match in different sets. And I think we don't see that much during men's tennis because part of it is there's like more holding your serve, which makes you obviously earn a game. But for women's side, it's easier to break your serves. So I think that's why, and there's just more rallies. So I think an ultimate advice is if you want to watch more rallies in generals, like players getting to the ball, and even though the ball's like speed is slower, but there's more running around and more interaction, sort of like they're hitting back and forth, you should go watch the women's side. However, if you want to see like just short like serve volley win, or like serve 1-2 punch, then you should obviously go check out the men's because there's more of that there. But yeah, that's just an advice. And moving on to the fifth match, which I think it's a good match, and I was like super happy about this, but at the same time, it's like sort of like a legacy that I'll say, like when I say, you guys will know what I'm talking about, which is Venus Williams defeating Camila Giorgi with a score of 7-6, 7-5 in a tiebreak, 4-6, and 7-6, 8-6 in tiebreak. And this happened in Birmingham in round one. It took 3 hours and 17 minutes. So I personally enjoyed this match. I didn't like watch the match live, but I watched the highlights. It was an amazing match, and everyone in the crowd was cheering for Venus because she's getting old. She's like one of the oldest people on tour, and she's still trying to fight for her passion of tennis, and that's just what I think is a legacy that the Williams sisters trying to maintain. I know that Serena Williams has already given birth to the second daughter, and I believe her daughter's playing tennis. So I'm just really happy to see the bloodline of like tennis legacy in the Williams sister being passed on. And yeah, I just think that tennis, like the profound history, it's like some people might say that how like you don't have any history in tennis. There's like not a family that like plays tennis, but that's not true because a perfect example will be the Williams sister. Like their dad taught them to play tennis, and now they are passing it on to their daughters and sons. So I think that's a pretty valuable thing. Okay, now for something that I think is kind of fun that I didn't really see much people doing. It's like awards. So I borrowed this idea from NBA. They kind of have awards for like different players, like most, I don't know, for example, MVPs, MIPs, or just like fan favorite. So I will be saying 5 players that I think are just, I don't know. I'm gonna say 2 MVPs, which stands for Most Valuable Players, and then MIPs, which is Most Improved Players, and Fan Favorite. Sorry that this might coincide with what I mentioned above, but we'll just deal with it. MVP, drumroll please. Okay, number 1 is Iga Swiatek, just because she ended as the world number 1. I don't think there's much to explain why she got the MVP trophy, because she's the world number 1. So obviously she's gonna win it, and I'm not gonna explain much here because her ranking basically explained her position. Second MVP, I'm gonna say Aryna Sabalenka, just because I believe she had such a great year, and overall I think she really improved a lot, and I think she's managing to go really deep for every single tournament, and I think this is improvement on all the women's actually. Before we always see first round exit, surprise first round exit, and we're okay, that's not new, but this year we've been seeing less of that because I've been hearing Aryna Sabalenka's name throughout tournaments. However, on the men's side, I might be hearing, for example, Daniil Medvedev's exit in Roland Garros round 1, despite him winning a clay title a week before. So I think it's just really funny how the tides are kind of changing. So I'll give that for Aryna Sabalenka, just because I think she's been a really stable player this year, and props to her for winning Australian Open and for basically being the world number 1, even though she's not anymore, but still, props to her. Okay, now we'll move on to the most improved players. Drum roll, please. Okay, first is Peyton Stearns. I love her, and to be honest, I didn't know her name. That sounds kind of, it's I just didn't know who she was. And then when, I believe I told a story on my podcast, but me and my friends, we went to the US Open during Fan Week, and then we were supposed to see Layla practicing with Peyton Stearns, and then Layla had a practice after, and we were trying to get her Layla's autograph, but she just left because obviously she had a practice after, so it's totally normal for her to leave. And then my friend was it's fine, I just want a selfie. So we just got a selfie with Peyton, and she went to, I believe, the quarterfinals of this tournament, and we're oh my god, we're the lucky charms, so bless her. But it's just, she's super nice, she's super cool, and then we were good luck, and she said thank you. So she's just a super nice person, and she really did this really well this year. And I didn't really know much about her before the US Open, so I didn't know how she did before then, but in the US Open she did super well, and I just really like her style of tennis. She's really aggressive when she needs to be, and she's also really good at techniques. Her hands can do a lot of things. She can use slices, she can volley. It's just super, she's super well, I don't know, not trained, but she is well trained, but she knows the game of tennis, which I'm super happy for her and proud of her. So yeah, props to Peyton, and we hope to see another good year for her next year. And then it's Marketa Vondrousova for the second most improved players. I believe I talked about this, and this podcast is going a bit long, so I just want to say I also said that Marketa Vondrousova is one of the most improved players because she's been dealing with injuries. I talked about this before, and she won Wimbledon, which is a huge comeback for her. I'm just really happy for her, and I'll see what's going to come next for her. Now for the fan favorite, because it's a fan favorite, I believe there could only be one person. Drumroll, please. Sorry if my drum roll sounds really weird. It's just me tapping on my laptop. Okay. Which is, fan favorite is Coco Gauff. And I believe she's a fan favorite, obviously, because she's just so adorable. Every time I see her, I'm she's so little, because she's literally only 19 years old. And she's competing at one of the biggest stages, ever, with, hundreds, millions of people just watching her play tennis, and she just acts so natural, and she's super nice. Every time I scroll through Instagram, I can see her liking random reels or just commenting stuff under players' posts. So she seemed like a really nice person in general, and I love her energy and how her whole support team works. So I'm just really happy for her that she won US Open, and I think undoubtedly she's one of the fan favorites. And then I will also give some honorable mentions, I guess. I didn't came up with the list. My mind just randomly I don't know, appeared out of nowhere to say I should do some honorable mentions. So, first one is Amelia Arango, because when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. And I think she's doing really well. So, yeah. And then I'm gonna go with Alina Rybakina just because she deserved it. She's been in the Grand Slam final this year. And then I'll say Jelena Ostapenko. She's also doing really well. And then I believe I'll say Jessica Pegula because she put up a tough fight, I believe. And the last honorable mention will be, drumroll please, Ons Jabbar. Because Ons Jabbar is super deserving, even though her end of the year really hasn't been that great. She really didn't perform well at the US Open because of her sickness issue, but everyone thought she was going to win Wimbledon against Marketa Vondrousova, and of course, she let us down again. But I'm really happy for Marketa, obviously, but I really hope that Ons will win the title next year because she certainly deserves it, and she's been in a final for 3 times. She has to win one. And now we're done with the WTA season recap. If you guys have any comments or any suggestions of things I might have missed, please feel free to comment or DM me on Instagram or Twitter. And for the ATP finals, I think this is running a bit long, my podcast, so I'll just end it off quickly. But I think it's the best finals we had in a long time. It's just a bunch of really good, superb players, and I'm just super excited to see the matchups. Truly, it's gonna be phenomenal, even though Casper's not in it. But to be honest, can we blame it? Casper really hasn't had the best season, but still. I think this is the best finals we had in a long time. My prediction is, I'm just gonna list 4 out of 8 who I think might win. So it's not really a prediction, but if it's 1 in the 4, then I can say that I'm pretty smart. Anyways, okay. I'm being too comfortable on this podcast. So, Sinner might win, Novak might win, Carlos might win, and Medvedev might win. And I think I'll just still put the bet on... Actually, not on Novak, because even though he's been playing well and he won Paris, he looked super tired, but I'm still saying Novak could win just because how he always recovers, and he's just insane to me. He's not human. How can he recover so fast and just be super condition by the start of the next tournament? I don't get it. But him, Carlos Alcaraz, even though he had a surprise round 2 exit, but I think he's gonna know how he still has a lot to improve on and can maybe motivate him. And then Medvedev, just because he's been having such a good year. And then Jannik Sinner, just because he won China Open, and his year also has been pretty good. So yeah, I guess these are my predictions. Okay, now I guess this ends off today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I had a literally blast filming it. I'm just so happy I started this podcast because it's actually been such a fun journey. And I just want to say thank you so much for listening. You guys should follow my social medias. That is Instagram and Twitter using @TennisTraverse. That is @TennisTraverse. And comment, subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Also, rate my podcast on the platform you're using to stream my podcast right now. And feel free to DM me, email me, or just, I don't know, somehow contact me to give any suggestions or just say just any comments in general. I'll read them and respond. And yeah, I guess this just ends off today's episode. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.